Well, I'm standing here on the 10th day of these protests in front of the iconic Lafayette Park, and on the other side of the park is the White House. These protests here today have a family-friendly vibe. It's very peaceful. It feels like a music festival as the sun goes down. There's live music, there's dancing, but there's also anger, there's chanting, there's people holding signs, no justice, no peace. President Donald Trump acknowledging that the protests yesterday were more peaceful than those we saw at the beginning, has said that he will withdraw the roughly 5,000 National Guard who have been stationed here in Washington, D.C. Now, this has been controversial. We've seen what critics say is a militarization of Washington, D.C. in recent days. There's so many agents of the state and soldiers and National Guard around this city. Critics say it's not appropriate for them to be controlling what is a civilian protest. Here's what the supporter of these protests, the Washington, D.C. Mayor, Muriel Bowser, had to say.
We take very seriously protecting First Amendment rights of our fellow Americans. And I speak for them when I say that it's wrong to have the United States military on American soil to threaten Americans. And that's wrong. And we should all be watching what's happening in Washington, D.C., because we don't want our federal government to do this to any other American.
And really, it's been like anything I've ever seen, that you would go through different parts of the city and you would see these officers heavily armed, but you weren't even sure what agency they were working for. Their IDs were covered. And just to give you an idea of just how many agents were out, as I was walking here today, we passed an agent of the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, who was conducting traffic.
Toby, we're seeing reports that say the majority of Minneapolis City Council wants to dismantle the police department there. What does that mean in concrete terms?
That's been one of the slogans of these protests: defund the police. And it's not a very well-known, I would say, in mainstream American political discourse, this theory. But it's been very common here. Defund the police. Now, what does it mean? Now, obviously, it has different understandings for different people. But on the whole, what protesters are saying is they want to take some of the resources that for decades have been going to these police forces and put them into other parts, reinvest in society, in better healthcare, better education, better mental illness. So it's an approach of trying to stop the crimes before they happen, rather than investing in the police to solve the crimes as it comes. Now, again, it's not really going to be a case that there won't be any police department left. I don't think anyone wants to see that. So I do think we need to be careful about how some reports have portrayed this of dismantling the police department. I don't think that's what we're going to see. I do think we're going to see taking some resources away and putting them in other parts.
All right, thank you so much, Toby Muse in Washington, D.C.